Good morning, friends. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us once again this week. This is your channel, Gnosis Arizona, and we continue this week with our seminar on the magic of the runes. And today we will speak a little bit about how is it that we can work with the cosmic primordial fire and how we can invoke the forces of our divine mother Kundalini. So for this, let's go ahead and start with the magic of the rune Fa. Fa appears as Fehu in the Elder Futhark alphabet. And it means cattle, or it means livestock. Let's remember that cattle has been considered sacred across the greatest cultures on earth. We can remember the sacred cow and the sacred bull Apis among the Egyptians. But in terms of the rune Fa, this rune signifies possession. It indicates abundance and the flow of energy. This rune is a rune of fire, a rune of light, and it represents the universe's solar force, its creative energy, and its transformational power. This particular rune brings with it the spiritual awakening because it is tied to Fohat. And Fohat is the fire of the first instant. Fohat is the eternal fire. Fohat is the igneous principle that governs everything through creation. So with this rune Fa, we can work on awakening our willpower to control our own destiny and transform our own life. So what happens if you are involved in an exercise of rune divination and suddenly someone draws the rune Fa? Well, in its essence, the rune Fa will be inviting you to engage in continuous flow. But be watchful, be mindful about what this continuous flow is. Because this has to do with continuous flow on your path towards spiritual development. It has to do with continuous flow in energy as wealth and as creativity. And it could be indicating that there is more work that you must be investing in your own life to achieve those things that you long the most. And in that light, the rune Fa also teaches us that work is joy, but work is only joyful when it is part of what has been on us, something called a transvaluation. When we see the adversities and the challenges that are brought into our life by our inner individual and particular psychological trainer as an opportunity, not as a problem, not as an inconvenience, not as something that we should just complain about. No. The transvaluation must happen. This particular rune speaks about spiritual transformation as the product of inner and outer labor. So what does Master Viracocha, Dr. Arnold Krumheller, says about the rune Fa in his work, Curso de Runas, or Courts of Runes? He assigns an astrological correspondence of this rune to Mercury. And Mercury is the embodiment of that divine archetype that is Archangel Raphael. Archangel Raphael is the wisdom of God. So there is an intimate connection between the rune Fa, wisdom, knowledge, the ability to apply it, but also the need for each and every sincere seeker to open themselves to that which is known. Krumheller says that this rune represents solar fire and the energy of Kundalini, and that its purpose is to help us awaken the consciousness. So it can awaken our consciousness and it can help connect us to these cosmic energies. But remember, we said that the influence of Mercury is behind this rune Fa. To that effect, Krumheller says, only the one who assimilates this principle in his mind will be able to take advantage of this rune. And he says, at night, find a secluded place to look at the starry sky and raise your arms in the rune posture. And as you do that, opening your heart with infinite devotion, invoking the guidance of your innermost, say, universal strength, powerful deity, you who light the divine flame and radiate it through the cosmos, let your sacred fire ignite and burn within me so I may transmit that light to those around me. And then the mantras, Fa, Fe, Fi, Fo, Fu. In terms of the mantras, of course, we will fully inhale, fully fill our lungs, and we will dedicate the whole exhalation to the singing of each one of these mantric syllables. But specific to this prayer, notice that this prayer is not something that you are asking for yourself. Let your sacred light, let your sacred fire ignite and burn within me so I may transmit that light to those around me. It is seeking to make oneself an instrument, a fine and delicate instrument of the innermost. This is a beautiful prayer. But as we know, in his Christmas message of the year 1968 to 1969, Samael takes this wisdom even further, and he says, Fohat is the generative force, the central, living, and philosophical fire that can originate the authentic and legitimate mutant, the real and true human within the cosmobiology of the rational animal. And when Samael writes in his book about the esoteric treatise on rune magic, he speaks about the many different fires that we know of. Because we know of the fires that we can use in the kitchen. We know about the fire that we can use out in a campsite. We know about the fire that burns the heart of the earth. We know about the fire that expresses itself as lightning, etc. But once he covers all that, he speaks about the other fire, the divine fire, and he speaks about the works of Helena Blavatsky. And in her secret doctrine, Blavatsky speaks about the sacred fire of Zoroaster. She says that this sacred fire is divine and creative energy that permeates the cosmos. This is the fire that we are seeking to invoke as we practice the magic of the Rune FA. She says that this Fohat is a spiritual principle representing the eternal flame of spirit and consciousness, and she relates it both to Akash, which is the ether, the primordial substance from which everything emerges, and to Fohat, which happens to be that linkage, the bridge that exists between matter and spirit. That force, that energy that enables that transformation of the dense substance into those things that are so subtle. She speaks of this fire as a purifying agent, the purification that goes through the soul and that leads to spiritual enlightenment. And she aligns this fire with knowledge, with wisdom, and with illumination. And of course, the one archangel that truly embodies that wisdom of God, Archangel Raphael, well, he has everything to do with knowledge, wisdom, and illumination. It is that wisdom that Raphael manifests through each and every one of us and throughout all of the vastness of creation as a cosmos creator, the thing that dispels ignorance and reveals the truth. For Blavatsky, this fire is the spiritual fire of the great Hermes Trismegistus. This is the alchemical fire that transforms man. This is the fire of Pentecost. This is the expression of Agni. Agni, the elemental deva of fire. Blavatsky even says, the fire of Zoroaster, the Atash Beram of the Parsis, is a fragment of the one eternal flame concealed in the depths of every being. That Atash Beram is the perpetual fire. That symbolized perpetual fire that you would see in any temple, that you will find in every church. The Atash Beram is the most sacred fire in the temples. It is that one thing that connects us, if you were a Zoroastrian, that connects us to Ahura Mazda. Ahura Mazda is for the Zoroastrians what Ipalnemowani is for the ancient Mexica. Ipalnemowani is you for whom we live. It is the essence of the Creator. It is its manifestation, that thing that cannot be explained because it cannot be conceived by the mind. This Atash Beram, it cleanses the soul and purifies the spirit. And you know that this is also an alchemical fire, again, the fire of Hermes Trismegistus, because it requires a potter's kiln, a blacksmith's forge, and it requires lightning. And yes, right there we see veiled the alchemical symbols of the pot, the tin pot that the alchemist must bleach and cleanse. We see you right there. The blacksmith's forge, the flaming forge of Vulcan, which is the work of the ninth sphere, where that man and woman come together to enliven that fire, to awaken that fire of Kundalini between them. And of course, lightning. That lightning is that electric fire of our Divine Mother itself. This fire, you have seen it before, and you have seen it as the halo in the heads of the angels. This fire manifested in the sincere practitioner is the very same fire of Pentecost that rose through the spine of all those devotees and that expanded beyond their pineal gland as a flame that connected that monad with the innermost. This is this sacred and divine fire. And for the Gnostics, this fire is Abraxas. This fire is also INRI. And it is likely that you have seen this acronym INRI before so many times. And it is also likely that somebody told you that the meaning of this INRI is Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews, or Jesus Nazarenus Rex Judeorum. But no, this INRI is a very powerful mantra. It is a word of power, of very profound and vast force, because INRI stands for Ignis Natura Renovatur Integram. The fire incessantly renews nature. And that is this fire that we are seeking to work. So Samael says, among the multiple fires, the one which glows, glitters, and shines in the pineal gland is always the troubadour of the Holy Spirit who carries the ark from city to city, in other words, from chakra to chakra along the dorsal spine. Samael says, a judo of the Spirit exists, referring to the runic exercises. These are formidable in attaining the awakening of the consciousness. And whosoever wants to work with this judo must begin to work with the rune of Mercury. This is the rune Fa. And there are two ways to work with this rune. It is lamentable, and you will excuse that we venture and say this, but it is lamentable that so many sincere students have been taught to practice this rune incorrectly. So let us show you the two methods in which we do this. Samael says, when we get out of bed in the morning, with immense happiness, we must salute each new day by raising our arms towards our Lord, the Son Christ. That Christus Ra, that rises every morning from the east. That powerful celestial manifestation that all of those stone monoliths in the eastern islands are patiently contemplating, awaiting their arrival, so that as a symbol, we can all move past this night of the spirit in which we live. So we must salute each new day by raising our arms towards the Lord, towards the Son Christ. And when we do this, what we benefit here is that this is also a method to work with pranayama, because we're going to be inhaling rhythmically, methodically, bringing in the air through the nose, bringing that prana into the body, and we will be exhaling through the mouth. And Samael says, imagine in those instants that the light of the Son Christ penetrates within us through the fingers as you're raising your arms. The left arm slightly higher than the right. With your palms facing that sun, we will use our willpower and objective imagination to see the light of the Son Christ penetrating within us through the fingers, circulating through the arms, and then inundating the whole organism so that it finally reaches the consciousness, to stimulate it, to awaken it, to call it into activity. This is one way to do it. So in terms of method one, how do we integrate this wisdom? How is it that we bring this force, the fire that leads us to Aura Mazda, the fire of Hermes? How is it that we bring this primordial principle within us and bring it into activity? Well, method one, early in the morning, we will stand facing east, and we will stand with our arms raised. Stand yourself at attention. See yourself standing at attention facing east. Raise your arms forward, the left one slightly higher than the right, with the palms facing the sun. Friends, and do this and keep your body relaxed. There's no need to be strained. If your shoulders get tired, and it is likely they will, just drop your arms, allow the blood to flow, stretch, and maintain that relaxation and come back into the posture. But the key is, as you have raised your arms, again, the left one slightly higher than the right with your palms facing the sun. Your eyes closed. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth rhythmically. With every exhalation, with every inhalation, I must say, visualize those cosmic forces penetrating through your fingers, flowing through your arms, energizing your body. And as you do this, sing the mantric syllables. Fa. As you sing the mantric syllable Fa, see that cosmic fire descending and penetrating into your thymus gland, right there on the heart. And see that thymus gland radiating with the luminance, with the radiance of 1,000 suns. And then we see that fire going into the creative larynx at the throat with the syllabic, with a mantric syllable, fe. And see that creative larynx shining with the splendor of 1,000 suns. The chakra is Vishuddha, and Vishuddha means the utmost purity. It is a white chakra, and as such, you should see it shining with splendor. Then we bring that fire to the chakras in the head. Down once again to the heart. And then to the solar plexus. And we continue singing, chanting these mantric syllables. Fa, fe, fi, fo, fu. With every inhalation, we see those cosmic energies penetrating through the fingers, saturating the organism and concentrating in each one of these marvelous 5 centers. But there is a second method to do this. And in the second method, what we will do is that we will practice it at night. As a matter of fact, Master Samael Aumveor says, you must also practice this runic judo in the mysterious and divine nights before the starry sky of Urania with the same posture. And Samael gives us a very specific prayer. It says, marvelous forces of love, enliven my sacred fire so that my consciousness may awaken. Notice that we're not saying revive. If you're here listening to this session, there is a magnetic center in you that is very active. There is an aspect of you that has been already called for and has been looking for this wisdom. If you're here listening to this lecture, it is because there are many questions that you used to have that have been methodically, but surely been answered. And as you are here, you are experiencing that fire of the Divine Mother is alive in you. We must still awaken that fire of Kundalini at the base of our spine. We must still raise those 7 serpents of fire, yes. But we are asking here, these marvelous forces of love, to take that fire within us and enliven it further, to strengthen it, to grow it so that our consciousness may awaken. So at night, as you go outside, stand outside, make sure that it is a place that is safe for you to do so. And as you contemplate the starry night, just stand at attention and raise both of your arms just the same way in the posture of the Rune FA, the left one slightly higher than the right one, with your palms facing the heavens. Marvelous forces of love, enliven my sacred fire so that my consciousness may awaken. Fa, fe, And friends, you may do this series of mantric syllables for 7 cycles, as Master Wiracocha consistently recommends. You can do this for 10 minutes. You can do it for 20 minutes. You can do it for as long as your heart longs for. But if you're just going to do the minimum, which we perhaps should not, then you should do at least 7. And this is how we do the practice with the rune file. This is how we work with this cosmic fire so that we can help awaken our consciousness. I sincerely invite you to put this to practice. Give yourself 7 days of constant practice and do it in the morning and do it in the evening. And in the morning, it would be a beautiful exercise of pranayama. And in the evening, charge yourself as well with these cosmic forces. And notice how much more vivid your astral experiences become, your dreams. Notice how much more aware you start becoming of the environment that surrounds you. Notice how it becomes easier for you to perceive. How is it that those psychological aggregates that we carry within become so much more identifiable in terms of how they affect your thoughts, your sentiments, and your actions? This is how we do the practice of the rune fa. So now, let's go ahead and speak about the magic of the rune Is. Is, as a rune, symbolizes ice. And ice is a natural force of nature. It represents transformation. Because the moment that ice falls from the sky like hail, or things freeze and break, well, it causes some degree of change. But as the ice melts and becomes water, it once again nourishes the land to continue to make it so much more fertile. Ice also represents stillness. And it should not surprise you that in the Norse mythology, ice and fire, they combine and they come together to bring forth life in the cosmic void. This cosmic void in the Nordic tradition is called the Ginnungagap. The Ginnungagap. And this combination of ice and fire combining to bring forth life, just exactly as we see it in the Nordic tradition, we see it among the Aztecs. Among the Nordics, we see ice and fire, and among the Aztecs, we see Texcatlipoca, the smoking mirror, and Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. And they both come together to ignite, to fecundate the electric hurricane that sparks and enables the flow of creation. And in the same way, when both man and woman come together in that super dynamic of love, they also work with water and they also work with fire. The rune Is speaks about stillness. It speaks of reflection. It signifies the axle of the world, the axis mundi, or perhaps the central pillar of the world, the thing that enables a connection between heaven and earth. And yes, this rune Is associated with the divine mother Kundalini. So if you happen to find yourself in an exercise of divination and this rune shows up, friends, this rune is asking of you for deep meditation and introspection. Because that center pole that flows through the center of the earth, that continuum always has two extremes, 2 ends. And that is so in accordance with the Hermetic principle of polarity. That principle reminds us of the duality of existence. And this rune would call you for deep meditation and introspection so that you can put in a balance those 2 aspects. Your sadness and your joy, your triumphs and victories and your defeats. so that you can bring about within yourself that principle of synthesis. Because of course, as we do this, this leads us down the path to connect with that inner stillness, with that calmness of the mind. Of course, that state of pratihara that we have spoken so much in other sessions. This vertical pole, in its rightness, it speaks about righteousness and right action, right thought. It speaks of right sentiment. And Dr. Krumheller, when he speaks of the rune Is, he speaks of it in terms of an astrological correspondence of Aquarius. And Aquarius is revolutionary in nature. This rune speaks of wisdom. It speaks of ability. And Dr. Krumheller states that when you stand in the posture of the rune Is, imagine yourself standing at attention and both of your arms stretched fully upward towards the heaven, hands above your head, as if you were a column, as if you were a pillar. In this position, says Krumheller, man is an accumulator and antenna of the cosmic forces. The point is to make this rune and personify it consciously. So when we stand in the posture of the rune Is, we become a point of attraction, just like a lightning rod becomes that accumulator and antenna of the power that comes from the lightning to distribute it. That is the purpose of this rune. So we will stand and we will raise the arms and form a straight line. But Krumheller says, once meditation is done on all aspects of Is, the rune, attract the cosmic forces, pronouncing the sacred mantra Yi 7 times. But of course, Samael helps take this wisdom even further. And to do that, he speaks about the 5 manifestations of our Divine Mother, of the eternal feminine principle that governs all of creation. Because he said, all the sacred powers of our own spirit are found within our own particular Divine Mother. He says, she is the fundamental point of our connection. She is the source from where our innermost emerges. So of course, all of the sacred powers of our own spirit are found within our own particular Divine Mother. And he starts speaking about the 5 different aspects of our Divine Mother, of that eternal feminine principle. And the first one is the eternal mother space. He says, much has been said in occultism about Prakriti, space as a maternal, feminine entity. Why would the space be considered feminine entity? Well, because it is in that eternal space where the words are fecundated and they are created. It is there where the chaotic matter is fecundated. Remember, fire and ice come together to bring life into the cosmic void. Remember, Quetzalcoatl and Texcatlipoca, in their sacred dance, they fecundate that electric hurricane that results in the manifestation of creation. So that eternal mother space receives those forces and allows those words to gestate within her and to come to life and flourish. That is Prakriti. But also, our Divine Mother is the chaste Diana. She is also our Divine Mother Nature. She is the air that we breathe, the light that we perceive, the heat that warms us. She is the air that cools us and calms us. She is the beauty of the light, the reflection of the color of the flowers. She is the aroma of the harvests. This is our Divine Mother Nature. And she has been worshipped traditionally, antique times, as the chaste Diana. But also, in her third aspect, our Divine Mother is the blessed goddess Mother Death. She is the terror of love and law. And here we see two of these forms of the goddess mother death. To the left, we see Hecate. To the right, we see Mictlantecuhtli, the wife of Mictlantecutli. Notice how her face is just a skull. She is also Proserpina. She is also Coatlicue. She is the catabolic force of nature that is responsible for destroying all of those inferior forms, all of those psychological aggregates that descend into the 9 different spheres of the underworld. But notice this. Samael says, 2 more unfolding aspects of Prakriti take us into the negative aspect of nature. That which is undesirable, that which in no way would be beneficial for us, the kingdom of terror and black magic. It is written that each one of these unfolding aspects of Prakriti is repeated within the microcosmic man. So we are seeking to work with the 3 superior aspects, those 3 superior manifestations of the eternal feminine principle. With Prakriti, with our divine goddess, Mother Nature, and with the divine goddess, Mother Death. And there we will see the crystallization of the 3 fundamental principles that lead to the revolution of consciousness: birth, death, and sacrifice. Just giving ourselves for the benefit of others. Let me share with you a beautiful story from Master Samael Aumveor in terms of an experience that he had with Shivananda that involved his Divine Mother. Samael was a really good friend of Swami Shivananda. They used to exchange letters, and they used to both present and speak of the same Gnostic wisdom, of course, in different terms to satisfy the needs of the social groups back in Asia and here in the New World. But Samael starts by saying, in terms of Sivananda, he says, many pseudo-esoterists and pseudo-occultists read the literature of Shivananda. Undoubtedly, this man was truly a guru deva who worked intensely for this suffering humanity. Samael even says, I truly confess that I never liked his acrobatics because Shivananda used to speak in terms of Hatha Yoga. In a previous lecture, when we spoke about the Rune Hagal, we stated the words of Samael when he says, I have conferred with the great masters of the Great White Lodge, and the White Lodge has declared Hatha Yoga as black magic. But that is because Hatha Yoga does not have the ability to awaken in any of us the fire of Kundalini. Awakening the fire of Kundalini is only possible through the practice of the super dynamics of love, which is Maituna. But Samael says very cleverly, I think that this great guru Shivananda used Hatha Yoga only as a bait to fish within the rivers of life. Because Samael speaks with utmost certainty saying, this great master, he practiced with the sacred super dynamics of love. He practiced with the work of Maituna in prior existences. But as a master of Samadhi, Samael says, I met Shivananda in the parallel universe of the 5th dimension. My happiness was tremendous when I witnessed that this man had built his solar bodies in the flaming forge of Vulcan. Yes, because it is only through the practice of the super dynamic of love that we can transmute our sexual creative orders and see the manifestation, the creation of these superior existential bodies of the being, that when all of them come together, they are a combination of lost faculties, abilities, powers, laws. All of these things together create what is known as the To Soma Heliakon. And that is only a work that is sexual in nature. So Samael speaks about his happiness when he sees that he comes across Shivananda, and Shivananda had fabricated his solar bodies already. And Samael says, our meeting was very special. It took place inside a precious precinct where I was teaching. And suddenly the great yogi entered, and instead of wanting to recriminate me, he said, you are vulgarizing the doctrine. Samael was speaking about the super dynamics of love. He was speaking about the transmutation of the sexual creative waters, about that union of that masculine and feminine principle, the awakening of Kundalini. And Samael immediately responded. He says, my answer was strong and sincere. I am willing to answer all the questions asked of me before anyone in this precinct. But of course, this Guru Deva, an enemy of any discussion, he preferred to sit in the sacred Buddhic posture and thus submerged himself into a profound meditation. Samael says that he felt as if the mind of that yogi was permeating within his innermost. Samael says, this man was diving, inquiring, exploring within my most intimate profundities. And astonished, I could do nothing but exclaim, Sivananda, you are a true sannyasi of thought. And filled with ecstasy, the Guru Deva Shivananda, right there in that parallel universe of the fifth dimension in the astral plane, stood up and went to Samael and hugged him. Because he was able to see the quality of inner work that Samael had already done as well. Why he was sharing this profound, powerful knowledge. Samael says, this meeting was formidable. Many other things happened that I now omit because they are not suitable for this chapter. And that is where he leaves it. But Samael says, Sivananda told me that he had seen my Divine Mother and that she was beautifully dressed in her white, beautiful garments. And as he recognized that beautiful manifestation of his Divine Mother, Shivananda was able then to perceive how deep and profound was the inner work of Master Samael Aung Weor. So friends, how is it that we integrate this wisdom? Remember that Krumheller, Viracocha states that the moment we assume the posture of the rune east, we become like an antenna where we attract all of these cosmic forces. So we are going to stand upright, facing east with our arms raised to form a straight line. It is advisable that we do this practice at night. At night. Because what we will do is that we will pray and we will ask for the help of our Divine Mother. How do we do that? Well, as we stand out there, facing east, underneath a beautiful night sky, surrounded with stars, we cross our arms on our chest and we say, Divine Father, Father of mine, you who are my true being, you who are my eternal God, I am here humbly at your presence, asking of you, begging of you with my soul, begging of you with my heart. That it is you, the one who invokes of our Divine Mother. Bring forth that derived aspect of you. And then we can say, Divine Mother, we're here humbly at your presence. We're asking that you help us awaken our consciousness. We ask that you help us fabricate within us all of the elements that make the true microcosmic man. We ask that you enliven all of your faculties, all of your virtues within that nature that exists in this philosophical earth. We ask that you give us the courage, the strength to observe, to comprehend, to see the elimination of our psychological aggregates, and an elimination that comes by your hand with your sacred fire and your flaming spear of arrows. And we ask of this in your holy name, by the Christ, by the power of Christ and by the love of Christ. So be it. And then we raise our arms and standing still at attention with our arms pointing towards the heavens. We use our objective imagination and our willpower to see those energies descending, being attracted into us like an antenna, like a concentrator of these cosmic energies, and we sing the sacred mantra Is as 2 syllables. And this is how we do the magic of the rune Is. How much do we do of this? Well, we know that Dr. Krumheller says 7 times. Is, that cycle, 7 times. But you can do this for 10 minutes. You can do this for 15, for 20 minutes, for half an hour. You can do this for as long as your heart longs you to do so. But what is important is that you do it. And that you do it consciously. And that you do it asking of the intervention of the innermost. That is what is important. And we sincerely invite you to put this into practice. Combine these 2 runes for the next 7 days. And do your practice of the Rune FA in the morning, and then repeat that practice at night. And remember, at night, bring that prayer, marvelous forces of love, and live in my sacred fire so that my consciousness may awaken. And after you do that, stand tall, raise your arms, invoke of your Divine Mother Kundalini, ask for help. And after you're done with this, Samael says, the student must lie down with his relaxed body and filled with ecstasy. Concentrate and meditate on the Divine Mother. If you happen to fall asleep, make sure that you keep your Gnostic journal close by. And when you wake up the next day, don't move so that you don't shake your astral body and you erase the memories. Just very gently reach for your journal and take note of your astral experience. Everything that you remember, every situation, every symbol, the quality of the ground, the sky, the house, the cars that you may find yourself in, the horses or the dogs that you may see, etc. Take note of them so that you can then extract from that, through those symbols, what exactly is the innermost communicating for you. So, dear friends, this has been our lecture today on the magic of the runes, and we have covered the runes Fa and Is. Do we have any questions? Perfect. So, dear friends, thank you so much for joining us once again this week. This has been the magic of the runes. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for your generosity and your attention. See you next time. May all beings be happy.